Oh, hey everyone.
Oh, we're on already?
And I pressed mute somehow.
Oh my gosh.
Hold on. There we go. No, how am I on mute?
There we go.
Okay.
Crank it
well, this is normal for us. This is totally
We're back.
normal. Hey Jess. Okay, let me invite Megan. Since, you know, we're interviewing the Shippies today. There she is. Okay. Whoa. Hey Jess,
Okay.
long time no see. Feels like it's been ages. Are you already home or are you driving home? Hey Angela.
There's the Bozants, the Beams.
The Beams,
Fantastic.
all the cool people are on this live right now.
We're giving it just a couple seconds.
Oh, and there's Megan.
While there they are right there.
Yeah.
Is watching. How do we
I don't know.
we need to bring them on. How do we do that?
Well, it says bring them on camera. Why is it not showing that on Megan's? Okay, Megan, we're figuring this out because on everybody else that has their name, it says is watching, like bring them on camera. This is real life, guys. We're trying to figure out why this is not to join you in your broadcast as a guest. Here we go. Okay, sorry. We are, here it is, right here.
It's not.
Oh, Megan, it's not letting us
Megan,
add you in here.
we may have
for
to
some
bring.
reason.
You may have to get your cell phone out and loop it in through that way.
Yeah.
Because it's not letting us pull you in
Yes.
through this part here.
Yeah, so hop off and then get back on your cell phone, and then we should be able to like rock and roll.
In the meantime, welcome.
Yes.
This is technically episode 3 of Uncharted. We are demystifying orphan care one family at a time. And so we've got a lot of awesome people who are lined up
Yep.
to come on and talk to us for a little bit. And tonight we've got the Shippies. We're working through some technical difficulties right
Yeah.
now. We're going to get it all ironed out here in just a few
Yes.
minutes.
They
So
should be on in just a few seconds. We have known them for a few years. We were connected with them through some mutual friends, the Gatlins, and also the Bozants. So the Bozants also knew the Shippies because Angela worked at the Boys and Girls Harbor, which we'll talk about a little bit more. But we actually met the Shippies. We had heard about them and just heard about how cool their family was. And my friend Teresa kept telling me, you just need to meet Megan. You need to meet Megan. And so when we went to Aero to do our mega weekend for all of our foster care training hours, we actually got to meet the Shippies there. So that's where we knew that we would be lifelong friends. All right, I'm waiting for her to hop on. Will you just message her and see? Sorry.
here, you handle that part.
Okay, I'm gonna let Eric talk for a minute.
So as we get going, if you guys got any questions, maybe you watched the last video or the video before, we're sitting here right now. Feel free. Oh, here we go. Wants to be in your
Yay.
video.
Yes, got it. Awesome. Yeah.
But we're bringing Megan in right
Now.
about now. Here they are. What's up?
Somehow we did it.
It's like magic. Okay, I'm gonna push this back so we don't have to sit so close to each other.
So we're on our phone. I don't know.
No, that's perfect.
There we
That's
go.
perfect. Okay,
We
I'm
can hear
adjusting.
you.
We can hear you.
Perfect.
So we don't have to sit so close to each other.
There we go. So we're on our phone. I don't know.
No, that's perfect.
There we
That's
go.
perfect. Except for I can see your ceiling right now.
I'm
We can hear you.
Okay, hold on. We're working on this.
Okay. This
Hold
is
on.
a real life live interview.
Okay, done.
Okay.
Fixed it. Sorry, guys. We fixed it though.
It's okay.
You're good.
Thank you.
Do you have your laptop sitting right next to you?
It's close by.
Is it close by? Okay. All right. I was hearing a little bit of echo, but I think it's already gone. So I think we're solid now.
We fixed it. That's what we were trying to fix.
Sweet.
Okay.
Okay. So welcome. These are the Shippies. As we were saying before, when we were in Houston, we met these guys, got to walk through
Both of the beginnings, really, of our actual foster care journeys, like together, full time.
Yep.
Which we'll get into in a minute, because they were already sort of fostering.
Kind of.
Haley, well, you can explain it all.
Yeah. Do this.
So,
Why don't you guys take a few minutes, take 2 or 3 minutes right now, and just kind of give us, how did you get into all of this that you're into right now? And we're going to get into the fostering and adoption and the harbor and all of those things. But how did you go from a family that is of 2 to a family
of 5,
neck deep in doing all this mess?
Yeah.
Right. Real fast we did.
Yeah.
Basically, we were trying to have kids ourselves, and it just wasn't working out. And one Sunday, we were babysitting at church, and a family that I'd watched before came in with an extra kid. And I was like, where did this child come from? And they explained to us that they called her weekend sister from the harbor. And so I immediately, while babysitting at the church, got on my phone and started looking up what that meant. And I texted Matt and I said, we need a weekend child. And he was like, I'm not really sure what that means.
I'll be confused.
Yeah. So I went home and explained it to him, and that was on a Sunday. And Monday morning, we called the harbor and we went straight there after some appointments and did an interview and set in our application. And then it went from there. It was a whirlwind of the next 2 years that brought us 3 kids.
Wow. So for those who live in Houston, they probably have a little bit of an idea of what the Boys and Girls Harbor is. But for all of our friends up here in Fort Worth, they have no idea.
No clue.
No idea.
What is the harbor?
What is the harbor?
Can I explain it?
Okay.
Okay, so the harbor is like an organization that has foster kids on site, and there's many different group homes. So there's about 8 kids per home, and on the weekends you can be a host parent, and you can go to the harbor, and every other weekend bring a child home with you, and it's the same child each weekend, and you just get to do family activities with them so they can leave the harbor for a little while and just see what it's like to be in a family.
Okay.
And then you take them back home after the weekend and you get them the next time. You can also have them for all of the holidays, 2 weeks at Christmas, a week at Thanksgiving. And then the harbor, they're a foster organization that works with CPS, and they do schooling on site.
Yeah. But not all the kids there are foster.
Right. Not all of the kids there are foster care. Some are just there because their parents knew that right now was not a good time for them and their family, and they needed help taking care of those kids. So they took them somewhere safe.
I feel like the main reason for the harbor is just to show kids what a family is like.
Yeah.
A good family with a mom and dad that can show them love.
Yeah. It's like a safe landing place in transition.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they could be there for a month or 2. One of the little girls that was in, at the time, Haley's cottage, she had been there for like 3 or 4 years.
Oh,
so
man.
there's such a wide span of time that they can be in the harbor.
Yeah.
And I think today it's now called Today's Harbor for Children.
Okay.
So if y'all want to look
Boys
it
and
up,
Girls Harbor in LaPorte, but it's changed names.
it's the same place. It's just changed names to Today's Harbor for Children.
Okay.
So
Awesome.
for someone who is thinking about fostering or adopting or anything that's orphan care involved, but is maybe not ready to take and make the commitment to say, man, I want to do this full time and bring a child into my home 365 days a year. Would you say, because you guys have been there and done this is something that is kind of like dipping your toe in the water, or is this kind of like
Definitely.
we're kind of like waist deep in the water?
I think it's definitely dipping your toe. It's a great start to see if this is something that would be a good fit for your family long term.
Okay.
If then you would want to start foster care.
Okay.
Because with the harbor, you do not need to be licensed.
Correct.
You just need to pass a background check. So
Okay.
you just need to do fingerprinting and an application, and basically say that you have a bed for this child to sleep on.
Yeah.
There's no home studies, no classes you need to take or anything like that.
Okay.
Now, with that being said, because you don't have to take classes, you're kind of like just kind of thrown into it.
Yeah.
And you don't know Like,
Yeah.
why is this child acting like this right now?
Yeah.
So
Right.
if that's the route you take, I do suggest you still get some books
Yeah.
and read
Something
so that
like
you know what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Awesome.
good.
Awesome. So,
Oh,
go ahead.
I remember Angela and Teresa and even some of our friends, Grady and Nicole, who were all, really involved with the Harbor. And I even remember, like, if you didn't want to do like a full-time commitment every weekend, which it's, essentially not even full-time, it's really part-time. However, if you don't want to make that full commitment, there are sometimes kids who didn't have a family to go to for the weekend.
Right.
So there are times when kids their host family couldn't take them home. So everybody who didn't get to go with the host family would essentially have to like go to one big area and spend the weekend there, like in a gym or something, right?
Kind of like that. It was called the Relief House. So, like for instance, if we couldn't get Haley one weekend, she would end up going to the Relief House. However, we had really good relationships with Ansley's host parents, so we kind of just traded off. Their names are Teresa and Shane. But if you feel like you're not ready to do an every other weekend or get that same child every single time, you can just get a child that's in the Relief House for the weekend that their parents or their host parents just couldn't get them that weekend, or an emergency came up, or especially during the summer and the holidays, some of those parents go to work and they don't have childcare, so they were only able to get those kids on the weekends and not the full week, so that during the week they were back at the Relief House. So you can just get the child for that time as well.
Yeah, so I was saying, if you're interested, but you don't want to commit to getting a child every other weekend, you can start off by at least doing a Relief House and at least to see what it's like, just get a feel for it and go from there.
Okay.
I mean, I feel like that's such and of course it's coming from like us, we're crazy. We're like, yeah, we'll take like every child.
Right.
I feel like that's such an easy serve, really.
Great way to help out.
Feeling called and you just don't know, or I mean, maybe you're feeling called and you don't fit the CPS criteria for taking kids into your home as an actual like CPS licensed foster home, because there are different regulations on the amount of children you can have in your home. This would also be, there are a lot of big families that I talk to them. They love having a big family, but they're like, man, we really wish we could do something like that, and be involved in some sort of like foster care situation. And that's a great way to bring a kid home, like either just on the weekends or in those relief periods where there are longer holidays, or, just times where kids are sitting in a relief home. And really, like, it's the Christmas and Thanksgiving when kids should really be in a home with someone if they can be. And so if you have that opportunity and the availability, like, why not, right?
And if you're thinking like a weekend is so far between the next weekend that we get them, we would go on just a random day during the week and call their host parent or their house parents and say, can we come get Macy for dinner tonight? And we would just go take her out to dinner and then take her back. That way, sometimes you feel like after you do get started, a weekend to a following weekend, that's a really long time to not have.
And I would say that people might think that, every other weekend, so they're going to forget about me, or we're not going to bond, or how's it going to work? The bond's still there. They still remember you, and they get excited to see you. So even though it's every other weekend, they still get excited to come to your house to hang out with you. They don't forget about you. They look forward to seeing you.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
I think everybody wants to be that cool aunt or uncle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yes.
That's like the mold.
And then when we got her full time, it was like the honeymoon's over. Isn't fun
You're
anymore.
not cool anymore.
We were the fun ones.
Yeah.
And now it's you live in our house.
Yeah.
So
it got real.
So let's dive into that just a little bit, because that seems like it's kind of the natural progression of things. You guys did the Harbor, and you transitioned from that eventually into like full on foster care, leading into adoption, leading into, I mean, we chatted on the phone before we went into here, and oh my gosh, like you guys have we were talking about jokingly, but not jokingly, you've spanned the spectrum.
Mhm.
You've like
We
triple doubled. Everything.
You've done all the things, guys.
We went from no kids to 3 kids in
Yeah.
1 year.
Yeah.
1 year timing.
So
So
our objective is to demystify orphan care, because I think there's a lot of people that look at you guys and see and hear what you've done and think instinctively, I could never do that.
Right.
Wow, like I can never do that. So as you guys transitioned into each one of these things, talk to us a little bit about foster care. Talk to us a little bit full-time foster care, adoption, and some of the other idiosyncrasies of all the ministries that you're involved in. Okay. What were some of your fears that you had going into some of these things? Maybe things you didn't know that were, kind of like had to just fumble your way through. What you run with that? What?
okay,
That's a lot.
let's
That's a
go.
lot.
Let's go. Okay.
No pressure.
So after we hosted, we were actually only Macy's host family. Her siblings had different host families, and thankfully we had a really great relationship with them, and so we were all in contact constantly. And like I said, if somebody couldn't get one of the kids for their weekends, we just traded they went to their house.
Yeah.
That was awesome. We still have contact with Ansley's host family, and we see them all the time. We should see them more, but we see them.
You're gonna give them a free pass right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. We see them at birthdays, and we try to do play dates and stuff like that. So we had them at the harbor for a whole year, and during that year we had called the harbor and said, if these kids ever become available to be adopted, we would like to adopt.
Yeah. And
we were very quickly told it would not just be Macy, it would be all 3 of them. And we immediately were like, never mind. No. We said 1 kid.
Yeah.
Like, I can't do 3 kids. And so that was very early on, probably like 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, something like that. Those were once we, so.
And so they ended up then being told they're actually going to go to a family member. So we had started the foster care licensing process, but we had only gone to 1 meeting.
Oh, yeah.
And by the time we heard that, we thought, there's no need to do all of this right now. We'll just host her until it's time for her to go back. They never went to that family members, but they did end up going back to their biological parents. So, everybody says they really can't do foster care because it would be hard when they leave.
Yeah.
It is extremely hard.
Hard.
I'm not going to lie about that. It's hard, but it is worth it.
Very, very worth it. Yeah.
We knew that year we gave Macy the love that she needed, the home that she needed, and that's what made it okay for us. There was many tears, a lot of tears, but we knew it was the right thing at that time, and that we did the right thing, knowing she was going to have to leave one day. So she left in December for full time to go back to her mom. We had contact with her birth mom, or her biological mom, and we talked to them often, FaceTime. We even got them for a weekend. So we still had a very open relationship, which we were very thankful for.
Very surprised.
Yeah.
We were surprised. We did not think that would happen. We sent Macy home with a letter when she left. I just wrote a letter to her mom explaining that we were thankful to get to love on her baby for a year, and if she was okay with it, we would love to have that contact. If not, we understood that was not what was right for her family. We were okay with that. And that day, she called me. She's like, "Hey, you can get them anytime you want." And I was like, "Hey, great, that's awesome." So that helped us with the leaving part. It was so hard because we would see them and be like, "This isn't how we would do it," but we weren't her parents. So during that time, we had decided to host from Latvia, and so we hosted 2 boys that came for about 6 weeks. We fell in love with them. Our whole family fell in love with them.
Now wait a second. Hold on, I gotta stop you for a minute. So you had 2 girls living in your home.
No, 1.
The one.
No.
1.
And we got them when Macy went back to her mom was when we got them.
So then they transitioned the boys then.
So then we had 2 boys.
We lost vacation.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we had the 2 boys for 6 weeks.
During Christmas.
It was a Christmas. It was through a program that brings kids over, and they go to host families so that you can advocate for them to be adopted in America.
Okay.
Okay.
And we fell in love. We were like, yes, we're adopting these boys. What do we need to do? So we started that process. Do you want to talk about this?
Yeah, so I mean, we talked to the agency they came from, and basically the lawyer that represented them, and they worked in Riga, which is the capital in Latvia, and we tried to get they got our information, and so they're looking into it for us, and couldn't to find out they have a law there. They have to be a certain age. The parents have to be a certain age older than the oldest child.
Mm.
I think it's 8 years, something like that. And so I think the oldest one was 11 or
I just know that we were
I
2
actually,
years
I'm
off.
sorry, like, yeah, we were Megan was 2 years too close to the oldest one, so we couldn't adopt. And so we looked into it, and then we were told we couldn't because they said if it was outside the capital, it could have been possible. But because it's inside Riga, which is the capital, they're very strict with their rules, and the courts wouldn't overturn the age, the law for us.
Right. So it was like another heartbreak.
Oh,
Yeah.
Really, like we thought these were going to be our kids, and it didn't work out. So then we decided to build a house, and we started building this house with 3 bedrooms with no kids, and we thought this house is huge. And
more than enough room.
way more than enough room. And then about a week or 2 later, or not long later, we got a call from CPS. Now, during this time that we had those the kids from the harbor, we had them for a weekend. And when we returned them to mom, we all of a sudden lost contact with her. So we began to worry. It was out of the blue. And between that time and 2 weeks later, we got a call from CPS. It was on March 9th, early in the morning. And they just asked if we remembered some kids from the harbor and if we were still interested in adopting, because we had told them well over a year ago we would be interested. And we said, well, definitely, what's going on? Are they okay? And I mean, without going into much detail, they ended up coming to our house that night.
Wow.
That night?
That night.
Wow.
That's a lot of time to prepare.
Yes. And so they got there about midnight. It was pouring rain. And they asked, did y'all ever finish your licensing process? And we're like, no, we stopped that a long time ago because we knew they were leaving. And so they got it approved and said, we can bring them to you as long as you start your process and you prove to us.
Basically, because we do them in the harbor,
yeah,
we had a relationship with at least Macy, and we also saw Ansley on the weekends that her host parents couldn't watch her because they had plans or whatever. They got us through a fictive kin. So basically, usually it's for aunts and uncles, but since we had a relationship with them, the courts went ahead and approved it.
Okay.
So they approved them to be with us very quickly.
Wow.
And then we immediately the next week started our training and classes, and that's where we met you guys.
And that's where we met.
Stuff.
Yes.
That's where we met.
Yes.
It was magical.
Wasn't that?
That
was Mega Weekend, wasn't it?
That was Mega Weekend.
It was. We did it all in one weekend.
Oh.
Yeah.
Knock it out.
It was difficult, but I recommend to everybody, do it all in a weekend.
You
get
have
it done
to.
and over with.
That's the way to do it. I mean, if you're gonna get 40 hours of foster care training, you might as well just get a hotel room.
We couldn't even get a hotel room.
Oh, you guys drove that.
You drove?
We had to drive because the kids were in foster care and we had nobody approved to watch them.
Oh man!
So we drove back and forth. Yes.
Yeah. That's when the normalcy rule would have been really helpful.
It would have been.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
So we did that whole process. We ended up moving in the middle of it. So altogether, we've had 3 home studies done, and so we moved.
The
in the
home
middle.
studies are a breeze, right?
Now they are, but at first we were totally like.
The first time it was a little overwhelming.
Very overwhelming.
Yeah.
I think that people tell you things to make you worried. So
yeah.
So we moved in the process, and then we were licensed only a week before we adopted Macy and Ansley. So we were like, we have to have this license. We have a date to adopt.
Yeah.
So we got licensed, and then we went to adopt immediately.
You don't get no more details about that, how that worked out. As far as, court and the hills, you didn't have a chance, and then.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't want to get into too much detail about their personal story,
Sure.
but.
So when I hear your story up to this point right now, I think that's a great story. What a great ending to.
That's what we thought too.
Yeah, like so. I have to laugh out loud because from that moment there, I'm sure you guys thought, you thought the same thing, like, oh, we're a happy family.
We have a family.
We have our house.
We
like
have
everything's
kids. Everything's
Yeah.
perfect.
we're gonna tie a bow on it and we're good to go.
Be done.
We have all the matching outfits, of course.
But-
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
But that wasn't the case, was it?
No.
God wasn't done yet.
He was
Not
not
yet.
done.
Oh,
and
man.
we wanted to continue foster care, and we thought, let's just take a year off and be a family.
Yeah, we just wanted to mesh.
Right,
yeah.
bonds. Like, I
Sure.
mean, we were bonded, but,
Yeah.
we didn't have caseworkers in and out of our house anymore. Like,
That's
let's
cute.
just enjoy life.
Yeah.
And so that was in November that they were adopted. And on January 13th, we live right next door to both the Matz brothers, which is amazing.
One move.
Oh my
so.
Well, on January 13th, one of the brothers came over to tell us he was moving to Boston. And we were very, very sad.
Yeah.
We knew we were going to miss them. And so that was a Friday night. And every Friday we do family fun night. So it could be anything from games to movies to going somewhere. We prefer something here for cheap.
Okay.
But
Mm-hmm.
we were watching a movie, and Elliot's birth mom texted me and just started asking some questions about if we were interested in foster care or private adoption. And we get this question a lot. People ask, what do we need to do to get started with the foster care process? Very quickly, we realized she was not asking that. And she told us that we told her we would be interested in private adoption, but we just couldn't afford it right now. It just wasn't something on our radar. And she began to tell us that she was pregnant, and that as soon as she found out she was pregnant, she knew that we were the baby's parents. And so she wanted to know if we wanted to adopt. And we were like, well, yes, like, of course we want to adopt.
Yeah.
And so she was like, y'all pray on it, think about it.
You sound just like Amanda. Somebody calls her like, hey, would you like a
It was
baby?
a baby.
Absolutely.
I just
Yes.
bring it over now. Like,
Say, don't you need to talk to your
Exactly.
husband?
no,
No.
he'll say yes.
No, just bring the baby
He'll
over.
say yes.
But here's the thing. Matt was in the bathroom, and I will never forget. I was emotional because we wanted a baby forever.
Yeah.
And I buzzed into a hysterical cry. And he came out of the bathroom. He's like, what is wrong
What?
with you? And I was like, we're getting a baby. And he's like, what?
Oh,
Like,
Oh my
he could not
gosh.
believe it.
He said, this
So-
movie's not even that sad. Why are you crying?
I know. I was looking at this movie. I don't know what it was.
Oh my goodness. It was so only 3 days had passed, and I messaged the birth mom. I was like, I have to meet up with you. And so the thing about this birth mom is she's friends with the family. We've grown up together. She was my babysitter. I babysat her kids. Our families are extremely close together.
Yeah.
So I was a little worried at first, and I'm sure she was too, being that we were going to be close.
Yeah.
However, now that's the best part of this whole story. I mean, Elliot, we see her birth family all the time.
Oh.
And so we just walked that journey with her. Her water broke early at 28 weeks, and she ended up in the hospital, and she stayed there until she was born at 34 weeks. And we just
Yeah, so she was in the queue for 1 week, and they said she's good, and you're
yeah,
home.
they said she would be in there for a month or two, and she was in there for a week in the queue, and we came home and signed paperwork. And now in the state of Texas, the baby still has to live with you for 6 months before you can legally adopt. So even though the birth parents had relinquished their rights, and we had signed papers saying that we were her parents, it was not legal for 6 months.
Okay.
When we went to court and we adopted, just like we did with Macy and Ansley.
Yeah.
Wow. So,
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So when we started this conversation just a few minutes ago, I told everybody that you guys had kind of spanned the spectrum. So you've been weekend host parents,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
foster parents,
Yep.
adoptive parents,
Yes.
about adoptive parents through foster care, adoptive parents,
Through private adoption.
private adoption. You've
And
dabbled
almost like a
in,
fictive kin.
yeah.
Even.
Almost like, yeah.
Yeah.
You guys hosted internationally.
Yeah.
So I guess the question now is, what's next for the Shippies? Like
A
what-
break.
what?
A little bit of a break.
we have to have a siesta.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We just want, we definitely know that the foster care, adoption, all of that is in our future. But right now we're just enjoying our 3 girls and watching them
Man.
grow up and just be a family together that we've waited for so
Yeah.
long. We're just kind of enjoying it for right now.
Until God says, here's something else.
Right.
You know,
Yeah. It kind of
well,
comes unexpectedly, so we're
you
just
never know.
waiting.
Yeah, I mean, that's how, I don't know, as foster and adoptive parents, I feel like that's just what we do. You know, we're just kind of waiting until God says, okay, this is what you do.
Exactly.
And it probably will look preposterous to everybody else.
Oh yeah.
And crazy. But you just, I mean, it does seem crazy by the world standards, but it makes sense in God's timing. And he doesn't think it's crazy, or we wouldn't be doing it.
Even going through it,
Yeah.
going through it, it's crazy. We're like, why? What are we doing again? Like, wait,
Right.
this was not what we thought we were doing.
Yeah.
God quickly says, it's what you're doing.
Yeah, I think it's cool that, you know, we built this house we have now, and as we knew we went to foster and adopt and everything with what's going on, and it's almost like, you know, we built it and they came, like, got it, you know,
Yeah.
folded up real quick.
Yeah.
So it's cool how that happened. So
Yeah, we can't even foster again until we add on to our brand new house. So
Well,
it's kind of like, well, okay. So
Man, that's okay. That's what an amazing story. Because I think, how many times did your family or your coworkers or even your church family look at you and say, "You guys are crazy. What are you doing?" Like,
our family definitely thinks we're crazy.
Yeah.
For sure. In fact, I had told my mom earlier this week I couldn't make plans tonight. I had a foster meeting, and she was like, "What? You're getting another child?" No, not that kind of foster meeting. We're just talking about foster care. And she's like, "Oh, okay." So they definitely think we're crazy, but they love all the kids we bring in here. They know that this is our purpose.
Yeah.
We know that this is what our hearts are made to do. Before all of it started, our biggest concern was them being treated like family and not seen as, oh, those are the adopted children. Those aren't biological. Yeah. And thank goodness we have not ever had that problem.
Not at all.
It feels like they've been here forever.
Yeah. And I'll say, I said, they feel like family. My family, and her family, everyone sees them like they've been with us for their whole life. You know, they don't see me differently. And all their cousins, we have a ton of cousins. They have, what, like 10 cousins, 11 cousins?
A lot of cousins.
But they all bond, they all view them as their own. Like, there's no, oh, they're the adopted ones. No, they're amazing. Their names have changed, but it's just like, it's like, there's no, well, they're, the adopted ones. No, they're our kids, and they're cousins, and they all get along great.
Yeah.
It's really cool to see that.
That is so neat. Oh, man.
Well, I tell you what, we've got a few minutes left. If you guys have questions for the Shippies who we've got on right now, go ahead and start posting those in the comments now. We're going to see if we can hit a few of those before we wrap up. Yeah. But when we send the questions over to you guys, one of the things that we love to hear is
our favorite part.
A funny story. Like we were laughing before we even got on this thing talking to you guys. So I know, like, orphan care in and of itself just breeds hilarious stories from all the craziness. And so what's a favorite story, you guys, that you look back on and you're like, other than you walking out of the bathroom and seeing your wife just in tears on the, on the couch?
There's just so many. I mean, everybody dreads the home studies. They feel like they're a big deal, and I did too. Like, I have to admit. But on our second home study, when we were here at this house, and it was the final one, it was like 10 days before we needed our license so that we could adopt Macy and Ansley. Mm-hmm. It was crucial. And, the caseworker, they go and they talk to the kids themselves, like, without us in there. So we're already a little bit worried about that. Every parent is. You're like,
what are you going to say?
Yes. So they were upstairs and we were downstairs, and we weren't listening on purpose, but we had all the volume turned down standing at the bottom of the stairs. And I remember the caseworker said, do y'all feel safe here? Do you love them? Do you feel like this would be a good home for you? All those questions. And Ansley said, I like it, but I'm scared of my dad. And I was like, oh, great. Like, here we go. And so the caseworker was like, well, why are you scared? And she goes, he sneezes so loud. It just scares me. I was like, oh, just a sneeze. We're fine. We can deal with that. We're good.
Wow.
Okay. So we have
So
lots
that's
of
probably
uses.
one of our top. Another one is I don't want to give too much away about the girl's story, but one time a teacher approached us and she was like, I just want y'all to know, we're being told some things that y'all have done, and they tell us the stories. My mom and dad have done this. I'm like, no. That's a different mom and
Yeah.
dad.
That's
Like,
a
that is
different mom
not
and
us.
dad.
Yeah.
Do not call CPS. Like, we can bring her in here to confirm this right now. So we've had to do that a few times. And the teachers know they're adopted, but Macy and Ansley, they still call their biological parents mom and dad.
Yeah.
Here lately, we've noticed they haven't been as much, but that's not something that we're ever going to tell them they can or can't say. That's their parents. And so here lately, they've been saying my biological mom or dad, probably because they hear us saying it. But when they first started school, they'd be like, my mom and dad did this. And we would have to go up to the school and be like, we did not do that. Here's our CPS papers. We're fine. We went through a background check.
That's awful.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can totally see that too, because you know, like this is
The
foster
stories.
adoptive parent life right here.
Yes,
Man.
definitely.
Oh my goodness.
As you guys began this whole journey from the get-go, how much did community play a role in your decision whether or not to get involved in orphan care, and kind of the different stages that you guys went throughout this whole process? How big of an issue is community, being plugged into a church, and having your church family around you and surrounding you and supporting you?
And your, I guess probably and your family as well.
And your family as well.
Right. You want to go?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's huge. I mean, having and being plugged into a church, I think that's huge. I mean, because they can understand what you're going through. They can help pray for you. They can help you out in any way they can. Being part of we have life groups and just it's having people who can help you and care for you and just doing they can to help out when they can. And that's the thing about having people help you is it makes it a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the foster care can get overwhelming sometimes. So just have other people there for you. People know that people have your back. It's big.
Yeah.
So when we first started the foster care journey, we did not have many friends that were foster care parents or I mean, we had heard stories about people that are adopted, but we weren't friends with them. Not like we didn't want to be friends, but we just didn't have any friends.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, people our age weren't out fostering and adopting. That wasn't what they were doing at that time. And so when we started the classes and we got more involved with those families, that was really nice. But having our church family and our life group was a huge blessing. I know that the day the girls got dropped off, unfortunately, they only came with the clothes on their back. So I immediately sent out a message to our life group who had already known Macy and knew that, she went home. They knew the whole story. And so all I had to do was send a text message that said, they're here. Like they're here to stay. We're becoming a foster home. And the next day, my friend showed up with a trunk full of clothes and blankets. And I mean, the church just had gathered all this stuff for us. And we did not buy one piece of clothing for our kids. The church provided all of it. I mean, I still did because I had a buying problem, and it was our first kids, and but they had everything provided that we needed. And now we're actually friends. We have more friends that are in foster care or adopted, and it's awesome to be able, because we're kind of on the other side of it right now. We're not fostering right now. We're not planning to at this moment, but to walk beside them and help them out and help them go through the process when it's draining and say, yes, this is exhausting, but you got to keep pushing. You got to get through it. There's a light at the end of that tunnel, and to be able to help them. And we would like to do the respite care and stuff like that for them because we knew how much we needed it while going through the process.
That, and I feel like just because, being so we're not fostering now, but because we have adopted and we've been through it, our life is different from someone who just has their own kids. It's just a different life. And so to be around the people who can understand that and understand our craziness, that makes a big difference. Because other people just, they try to understand and they're trying to be nice, but just there's just that disconnect. They don't know what it's like to go through it or be in that situation.
Right.
And so to have other couples who have been through it and know what it's like, that helps a lot.
For instance, our children have been through trauma, and that's going to live with them. For a very long time, probably the rest of their lives. And so when they're acting a certain way, people with biological children are just like, oh, we'll just do this, it works fine. I'm like, that does not work for me, Ansley. Like, that's gonna actually make the problem worse for us.
Exactly.
So to be able to have friends that say, we know exactly what you're going through, you're not crazy, this is normal behavior, it's really helpful.
Yeah, I think that's huge. I do. I feel like that's just to have someone who's coming behind you and supporting you and being like, you're not crazy, you're not a bad mom, they don't hate you. Like, this is just the manifestation of trauma in these kids. Erica and I actually we had that conversation last night. It's, even though it's really hard and the behaviors are just outlandish sometimes, just things that you would never think of and experiencing and being parents, definitely things you never thought about as a kid. It's as hard as it is, and it's just draining sometimes. It's good to know that our kids have a safe place to mess up and make mistakes. It's a safe place where they can make crazy decisions and we still love them. And we're really, just able to show them what grace looks like, and healthy consequences, and just talk through those things. Like, just being a safe landing place for, it's not if, it's crazy things are going to happen, but just being a safe place for them to fail and try again over and over and over. I don't know. And that goes into our walk, our Christian walk with the Lord. We fail so many times, and I'm sure the Lord just looks down on us and thinks, that was insane. What were you thinking? But he's a safe place to keep trying again. So just to be able to be that for our kids and know that, what, they're good kids who make bad choices. And a lot of that stems from just the manifestation of trauma. They've been through so much. And so just allowing them the safe space to do that, I think, is huge. So
I think
a happy support system.
I think that some people that haven't actually walked this journey or adopted, they sometimes think, after they are adopted, all of that goes away. And the behaviors, they act like a normal 7 or 9 and 11-year-old, and that's not the case. Like, no, this continues just because they have a different last name. That does not change the way that they.
Or people think that because they're a certain age that they act that age, but in reality, their mental state is a little bit behind their actual age.
Exactly. So, that's it. And I think, man, I just feel like I'm repeating like a ton of stuff that I say all the time. But whenever I was reading through Russell Moore's Adopted for Life, he likens it to marriage. So when people get married and they go off on their honeymoon and they come back, everyone's not like, okay, good job, you're done. Like, you don't have to try anymore. Everything's going to be perfect because you're married now. It's official. You signed a legally binding document. You're good for life. That's not how adoption works. Especially, I would say, really adoption from foster care. I think this is just going to be a really long, like, walking out of the stuff process. And so I feel like for churches and for our friends and for our family, for them to go into it and be able to support us as adoptive parents. I feel like foster families get a ton of support and they need a ton of support. But for adoptive families, we need a ton of support. Well, like, the support can't stop just because we've made it legal and changed their last name. I feel like now it's maybe even a little harder because we've made a lifetime commitment. We know like the light at the end of the tunnel is not them transitioning out. you know, we're in this for forever. We are a forever family, and the behaviors don't stop. So we need the support. We're still doing all the therapy. We're still doing, maybe even more now because we're trying to build those bonds as a family and really, get them the care that they've needed that we couldn't get them when they were in foster care. But now that they're adopted,
it's
their
easier.
Plan kind of changes. The care that we can provide for them changes because now we're their parents.
Exactly.
Right.
And so just walking alongside us, even as we transition into adoption, is vital because it's hard. So I'm glad that you brought
I
that.
agree. And I think a lot of times we have to remind ourselves, like, because they'll be doing something and you'll be like, why are you acting like this? Like, you are 11 years old. Get your act together and come back when you got it all said and done. And then you're like, well, she doesn't know how to bring it all back. Like, we have to remind ourselves that sometimes. Like, she is 11, but that does not mean that she's been taught these ways and she's working things out the best that she can. So
Right. Yeah.
it's a lot of grace with
oh man, yes,
Totally.
Yep, we totally like that is
the struggle is real.
The struggle is real.
Yes.
But
and nobody knows that better than you guys, so thanks. I mean that as a huge compliment to you guys. I mean, I feel like we started our journey as you guys were already like waist deep in it.
Yeah.
And so we got to see you guys kind of walk through some of that. You got to see us go from classes all the way to getting a placement and everything else in between.
Yeah.
So, man, we miss you guys. If you're in
Houston, Fort Worth, if you're ever in Fort Worth.
No, I was going to say, if the people who are watching, if you're in Houston and you need advice, resources, anything in between,
support,
the Shippeys have been there and done it.
Yeah,
we would love to meet up with you.
Any
way possible.
They would love to share a meal or coffee or something.
Absolutely.
Get out of the house.
Absolutely. So send a comment below with any questions you may have for them. If you guys have any links for
the Boys and Girls
Harbor or organizations that you've used or partnered with, or even your church, if you want to help, guide people, connect people to your church, throw all that down in there too. We'll keep up. Both of us will keep up with this video, kind of going forward, and answer any questions or comments or anything like that lands down there in the bottom. Thanks for being here. And taking
of course, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
We're so excited. We've got several more of these that are coming up over the next few months. So November is National Adoption Month, and there's many churches and organizations that go out of their way to celebrate this. And we really just kind of wanted to strip away some of the mysterious cloud that overshadows orphan care.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure you guys had some of the same fear and reservations going into it as we did. And it's nice to have a place where you can go and ask the questions that in your mind you may think are stupid. You're like, man, what does this look like? How does this even work for our family? And so that's really what we want to present. And I think you guys have done a fantastic job of that. So, I
have one more.
Oh, you do?
Sorry.
Oh.
It's also almost election time. So local elections are happening. And I would just encourage people to look at the ballot, see who's on there, see what judges are on the ballot, because not everyone believes that children should get pulled from home. Not all judges rule that way. And it's not always in the best interest of kids to stay in the home environment with biological parents. So that's just the harsh reality. So find out who's on the ballot wherever you live and go vote. Because, I mean, in Harris County, we sort of know the judges. In Fort Worth, we have no idea. So we've really got to do our research here.
Just get educated.
But if you don't vote and people come into power, they could completely stop pulling kids from homes. And then, it could take something pretty awful happening to start changing minds. So be informed and go vote.
So Amanda, we actually didn't share this in our video, but during the court process, this is what he was telling me to say earlier, and I was going to, but during the court process of Macy and Ansley losing, their parents losing their rights, we had to go back for a couple different court dates just because it was going too long. And we were actually told after the first court date that the judge that we have does not relinquish rights. And so to be prepared that we were not going to be able to adopt these children, we were going to be placed under, I don't ever remember, but it's like permanent
managing conservative.
Yes, that's what we were going to be placed under. That he does not remove children from homes. And I was like, well, my kids have been through,
it's in like one time in his like whole career or something like that.
So I was like, look at all these things that these kids have been through. And our caseworker had said, we've seen worse. This judge will not remove these kids from the home. So we went home and cried for days because, it was devastating news. And then going to our next court date, we were on our way, and our CASA worker had called us and said, do not come. And, we didn't know why. We were supposed to go on stand that day. And we got called an hour later and said, we do not know what happened because this judge has only removed one case ever. And for some reason, he decided to relinquish the rights before y'all even had to come in. So that is a very important thing, to do your research on who's on the ballots, because we were our kids would have gone back. So
Jeez.
Well, I feel like after talking to our youngest ad litem this week, he just really encouraged me to look at that lower ballot, be informed, and tell the people in our network of, he knows we love foster care and adoption and things like that. And that's what we're passionate about. So he's like, you need to tell everyone, get informed and look at the lower ballot. Like, do the thing, guys.
Do your homework.
Do your
homework.
Yes.
So,
yes.
There you go. There's our public service announcement.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Go vote.
So
thank y'all so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for being here. And again, comment, post, share, subscribe, whatever all this stuff does, and we'll keep up with the questions and all that afterwards.
We're keeping up with the Shippies.
Be with it. It's Friday. It'd be Friday.
That's our hashtag.
Your hashtag.
Yes. Hashtag everything.
Yeah.
So that's it. We're gone. Hey, you know what? Before we leave, hang on. Before we leave.
Oh my gosh.
We're gonna baby shark.
I cannot even believe this.
But my kids aren't even awake, and this is their favorite.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, I'm turning it off.
Bye, guys.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.